Let's continue the conversation from the last video about you don't suck at manifesting, about a lot of the content makes people feel like they're doing a bad job at manifesting because you're not. And I want to talk about the comment that somebody left because I think it's relevant to a lot of people. And the timing in my own life, reading this comment today, which is Wednesday, May 20th, and the personal realization I had on Monday, it's uncanny. Let's just read the comment. So Leah 222222 said, "Thank you so much for this. I often felt defective, like I was not wired to be a good manifester. It wasn't even about manifestations anymore. I just wanted to stop feeling bad. I wanted to stop faking it. I felt like a failure for not being able to reach or sustain a higher vibe. It would have been good to know that there was a little more to it than just thinking good thoughts, and that it's okay to admit when you don't feel as good as you want. Your post is a manifestation for me. It is the answer to a question that I've been silently screaming from within." Thank you, Leah, for writing that, because I think a lot of people deeply resonate with what you said. As for me, Monday, again, today's Wednesday, May 20th, so Monday, May whatever, you can do the math to figure out what date that was, is the first day that I allowed myself to admit out loud that I'm not doing as okay as I'm presenting myself to be. So let's break it down a little bit more. A lot of law of attraction or manifestation, information, materials, what have you, content, leans heavily into the idea that life is supposed to feel good, you're supposed to feel good, and that if you're not feeling good, there's something wrong. And while I agree that when we come into these bodies, we are naturally oriented towards joy and happiness, but unfortunately for many of us, life has a funny way of sprinkling its seasonings of trauma and pain onto us, and little by little the ease of finding joy slowly diminishes. And now here we are as unhappy, sometimes miserable adults wanting to find our way back to joy, and we stumble across manifestation techniques and law of attraction teachings, and it all sounds so wonderful, and it promises us these fantastic results if we could just align long enough. If we could just be happy for long enough, then everything is going to fix itself and life will be wonderful. But the problem is, a lot of these teachings, all of them, I haven't found any yet, that address nervous system health. A lot of this information is presented as if the receiver is already coming from a state of regulation. So while we are not meant to live in chronic states of suffering and stress, a lot of us do. And the pain that we experience, while we're not supposed to endure it, that's what we learn. That's the trauma response, to endure the pain. And many of us don't even know that we have been traumatized. We didn't even know what trauma is. I know I didn't know what trauma is until TikTok was a thing, and I was like, oh, that's what that is. Okay. So many people don't learn about nervous system repair or regulation or healing, processing, nervous system support. They learn endurance. So when you hear something like reach for the better feeling thought, and you see something like the emotional guidance scale, and you're told that if you practice staying in these higher frequencies, that's how you're going to get all of your prizes, and because you're a human being with a dysregulated nervous system, or you have trauma and you can't do that, you feel like you're failing. And it might even make you feel spiritually inadequate, because a lot of these teachings will say things like align with source energy, align with your inner being. And trauma is not the same thing as misalignment, but it can definitely be interpreted that way. So it makes you feel spiritually inadequate or in vibrational exile. And these teachings often frame bad feeling states as resistance or pushing against or misalignment. or even disconnection from your higher self or from source. But they're very rarely accounting for things like trauma, nervous system conditioning, attachment wounds, chronic stress, survival adaptations, and emotional neglect. Which again, people then interpret trauma response equals vibrational failure. And that's kind of heartbreaking when you look at it like that. Okay, so now that we know we don't suck at manifesting, that we're just traumatized. And it's not, for most of us, it's not reasonable to think that we're going to easily reach for and maintain those higher frequency thoughts. What do? Are we therefore doomed? No, we're not doomed. We're far from doomed. What we're going to do now is we're going to operate from the understanding that we have been traumatized. We have dysregulated nervous systems, and we need to be a lot more forgiving with ourselves. So instead of reaching for the perfect thought, we're going to reach for the most soothing thought we can find. And again, that's not the perfect thought. It's about finding that thought that you can believe. So the perfect thought is the thought that feels the best from where you are that you can believe. So it could be something like, I've been in uncomfortable places before and I've gotten through them. I will get through this as well. Or you could say something like, I'm uncomfortable now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be this way forever. And I don't have to figure it out this second. So depending on where you are and what's troubling you will determine what thoughts could serve you best. And the goal is to make them believable. It's to soften the harsh ones that you're already thinking. So like in my case where, my finances are a problem. I'm running a small business during a small retail business during a really poor economy. So money for me right now is an issue and I do worry about it. So I can't jump to the thought that money flows easily to me and I always have enough, because it's not what my nervous system wants to hear. So I have to word things in a way that soothes my nervous system. You see what I'm saying? And aside from amending the thoughts, the other ways that we're going to help ourselves feel better is to allow ourselves to have rest and breaks, and to allow ourselves to feel our emotions instead of constantly trying to edit them because it doesn't fit the law of attraction dialogue of think the better thought and relax and go with the flow, because sometimes going with the flow doesn't feel so good. But the goal is to go with the flow so you're not flailing against it. You know what I'm saying? Like, go with the flow in the way that you can go with the flow. Don't try not to spiral out of control in the flow. Am I making sense? Please tell me I'm making sense. I think I'm making sense. Anyway, I think I covered everything I want to say. If I've left things out or there's other stuff you want clarity on, just let me know. Otherwise, be easy with yourself. Love yourself more. Honor your feelings where they are, even if they're uncomfortable. Heal those wounds. Practice ways to regulate your nervous system. Don't worry about perfection. You're doing better than you're giving yourself credit for. That's it for now. I love you. Bye.